All right, so the first question that I want us to dive into is, what is the hub that we're trying to create? And I want to give some examples of scenarios, because when you understand kind of the hub that I think we're envisioning, it adds something into the conversation when we talk about the other questions. So this concept of hub is of a community hub isn't an old concept. People are doing community hubs all over, and they can look different and diverse. One kind of concept of a hub is it's a rental space. So a bunch of different groups, there's a space created, people rent that space as they want it. But whoever is the owner of that property maintains the management of the space itself. So you have a space, it's rented out by a number of groups, and there may be some preferred groups, but overall it's just managing the rentals. The second option within community hubs is a rental space, when there's also what are called anchor tenants. And anchor tenants are a bit more invested. They are maybe using an office space, or it's monthly or weekly, but it's ongoing, it's engaging, and they have a preferred status, meaning that if there's a conflict with rentals, they would get that preferred status because they're considered that anchor tenant. The third is what we're leaning to try and achieve here, which is where the owner of the space puts the land or the space in a partnership agreement deal, where it says that we don't want to just be the owners of the space and rent it out. We don't just want to rent it out with a few anchor tenants and hopefully generate some more income. What we really want to do is move out of the center and have the community hub, or the hub itself, be a governing body that manages the space. Meaning that the church remains, in this case, a spoke of a much larger wheel. And that is owned by or managed by multiple partners who care for and animate the space. So it's now not just one organization that's going to manage the rentals. It's a partnership agreement where we're in the space together and we're energizing and animating based on our shared values. So that's the model that we're really trying to move towards. Any questions on that? And you can share ideas as well, or whatever emerges for you as I'm talking here.
You should probably try to do that all over again. Because
I am not doing that all over again for Janelle.
No worries, no worries.
It was really good though, Janelle. You should have.
It was good. It was good. I kind of heard it.
So I'll give
it's recorded, right?
Janelle, I'll give a summary. When we define community hub, it can mean a owner of a space that is renting out that space, and they're just going to rent it out to whoever wants the space. Or it can mean that it's an owner of a space who is renting it out to a diverse group of people, but they also have what are called anchor tenants who are sharing that space. And they have a preferred status because they have a bit more buy-in and ownership within the space itself, but no responsibility. The third option, which is the one that we're trying to achieve here, is more of a partnership model, where the owners say, I'm going to put the space in a collective arrangement where we manage it together. So it's a group of partners who are now managing the space, not the owner of the space itself. So it's a shared responsibility around animating and engaging within the space. So those partners may decide that they're going to rent it out to whatever, but that's a decision that's made by the collective, not just one. So it may become that people rent it out, but the space is designed and animated by those who are partners within the space. Any questions on that?
No, it's very clear. Thanks. I got that.
So when I talk about hub, or we talk about a hub, it's three. It's partnerships together. We're in this, let's co-create. So the second question is, what is a partner? I'm just clarifying term, just so when we get into the conversation, it's clear. So a partner, words that come to mind for me is co-creating, reciprocity, togetherness, shared responsibility. So partner is not just I'm doing my individual thing. And this is so critical with not-for-profits, because I guarantee you, you're busy. You have lots is going on, lots on your plate, heads down, you're in the trenches, grinding it out. And partner says, I'm with others. I'm not in this alone. I have others who are caring for me, who are supporting for me. They have strengths that I may not have and supporting me in the weaknesses that I do, but I have strengths that I'm also bringing. We all have assets that we carry and bring into a partnership, but we also have needs. So partnership is where there's mutual respect, interdependency, we're working together. And out of that, we're actually creating something completely different. And the something completely different is the space in which we hold together is now its organism in and of itself. And it's if you walk into a community hub that has, for example, if all of you were in this community hub and you had Janelle and Laura from Halton Black Voices, you had Jody with Grandmother's Voices, Home Adultery, P-Flag, and we are St. Paul's, you're inhabiting a space together. If I walked into that space, I would feel the collective energy, not just what Grandmother's Voice was doing. There would be something that would be there that would feel different, because you're creating and animating something together that feels new. So you each have your individual thing. That doesn't change. You have your individual non-for-profit status, your individual vision and values. But then we also have this other thing that's built around a partnership agreement that is being created together. So the question is, in understanding partnership in that way, what would you say are the assets that you bring? And what needs do you have?
Dave, when you say the assets that we have, you mean like physical assets that we can bring, like equipment, or like the work that we do?
It can be both. So it may be that you have literally physical assets that you are bringing with you, whether that be, who knows what that could be, or there's strengths that you carry, there's value that you feel that you're adding to the partnership. So what would be the thing that you think you would add to a partnership? Yeah, just go for it.
So I don't know, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I think I'm a little bit confused, because when I think of assets, I think of money. That is something we do not have.
Yep. Yep.
We like like there's no way that P-Flag Halton at this point in our, where we are right now, we don't have a monthly income waiting for us. We educate a business, corporation, the school, something, and then we get paid for it. So that, it kind of stresses me out a little bit, because I don't feel like I have anything to give, right, as far as that goes. I have a button maker. But I mean, for real though, what do we have to bring? I mean, we have our community, we have our experiences to bring to the table. We have you know, we can speak to things that other people can't speak to. Those are our assets, I would say. As far as anything physical, no, we have our bodies, and not very many of them because we're very low on volunteers. So that's our biggest need right now. It is literally me and my wife, trying to pretty much, you know, we volunteer all across Halton. It is a day and a night, and I try to squeeze in my volunteer work during my paid job. It's not sustainable at all. So even the physicality, like physically providing our bodies, is until I have more volunteers, I feel like I have nothing to give. And it doesn't sound good. Like, I'm excited to be part of this collective, but I almost feel like I don't have anything to give to it.
Thank you so much for your vulnerability. And I think that's important, because I don't know if I've met a not-for-profit that doesn't feel very, you know, in a similar space. And especially when you feel like you're on the margins, and the thing in which you're giving isn't as, it's, so thank you.
I think from the perspective of St. Paul's, you know, what we have is, you know, the current space as it is, and the, you know, land for a potential future space. What we need, and what we've always struggled with, is help. Is help with bringing our vision of being more integrated and responsive to the needs of the community in a real way. Like, we went through a pre-pandemic, we went through internally a long exercise, a long visioning exercise about, you know, who do we see ourselves as? What do we want to be? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And we ended up with a vision statement that at the time felt very meaningful and very was very inspiring. And that vision statement was to connect, to engage, and to transform. And I think since that time, we've really struggled to breathe life into that, you know, beyond a certain point. I think we're limited by what we know and what we don't know. And so we need help bringing that to life. We need help animating that vision, and living into that vision, because I think we've scuffled a bit, if I'm being totally honest. I think the words are nice, but I think if you polled members of our congregation, in what ways have we lived up to that vision, I don't necessarily know what people would say, right? And I'm being very honest. We've got a space, and we've got the land, but what we don't have is the tangible know-how and the connections to breathe life into that vision.
That's great. Thanks, Jeff.
And that's just my perspective. This isn't, you know, it's not something that we've discussed prior or anything.
I love it.
I'm thinking of what home of those can bring as an asset, and I think what we have most is like people. We could grow in 2 years up to 150 people that studies with us. We don't have much volunteers for the day-to-day, which that's what we struggle most, but we do have volunteers for activities that we do or events that we do. So now we just had a campaign to collect underwears and socks for Socks Net, and now we did a green campaign. So we do have volunteers for those kind of activities. We do partnership with other nonprofits as well around Hawthorne. So I think that bringing to this community hub that we can mostly bring, like whatever activities, whatever campaigns or things that we are doing as a group, we can have that volunteers to come up and do the work, and I don't know, maybe a weekend, a week or whatever, we have that. And what we mostly need is a space, a physical space to do our meetings, because we do everything on Zoom.
Yes.
And we miss a lot to have this physical connection. We started in a physical space, and 2 weeks after COVID came, so we had to adapt, and now we miss that a lot. And I think that we mostly need right now.
Amazing. Thank you.
I'll go next. So for Halton Black Voices, around the same line as Peace Flag, like we don't have any assets in terms of like a steady stream of income. But we do have the people, and the people that we are serving or coming across and collaborating with also need a space. So I think in terms of what we can bring to the table is definitely like new vision, new ideas, and then bringing in another generation of folks to the space.
Great, Danielle. Thank you. Jody, I think you're the last one.
Mm. Yeah, I think I just put mine in the chat. Culture, education, we do programming, we do whatever we need to do to engage community. And I think like the other organizations, I've always had a vision because it's how Indigenous people think. This is how we think. We think about everything together. There's no separation. So, yes. If we really did this in a good way, like I don't know, I can't help but think big. I think that this circle is small. And I think that there should be more people in it. I think that there's an opportunity to offer to include others. Still, I think that there's a campaign space, like we could really sit down and look at and navigate, like we can, I guess, look at what does to pay for that space right now, what's the real bottom line, for us, because we are doing it, and we can bring whatever needs to be brought. So
yeah,
like everybody else, we're doing the same thing.
I love it. It's really helpful. Next question is, there's something about, I kind of use this slogan, better together, but we literally, when we come together, our impact is multiplied. What impact could be multiplied together in creating this type of partnership? Where do you think the impact could be multiplied?
Volunteers, people would come.
Yeah, so more people engaged.
Mm-hmm.
I think as well that just the possibility to have different groups that can interact, and one group help each other with their own expertise or whatever they can aggregate to one another. That is also something that is great, because we don't have the expertise that BFlag or Black Voices have it, or Grandmother's Voice have it, but we can also bring our own expertise to the table together with everybody.
I think that's significant. Yeah, you're helping each other be better. Like you're serving and helping each other be better.
If we have the space, we can, all of, I guess, there's so much that we could do together. to bring in revenue, events, like what's the space about? You know,
That's it.
once we decide exactly what that space is, and that's the overarching, which to me, I'm like, I want to run right now,
Yeah, you want to go. Yep.
right? Like,
Yep.
I think also they're working together with so many others who have like the same kind of values and mission. It would make us feel less alone. Like
Oh, yes.
we have partners, we have people who are, we're
Mhm.
stronger together.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
I always think about like the impact. It goes beyond what we're doing. So if we're successful and things work really well, then other people want to do this too. So maybe other churches or other
Yes.
schools, who knows? Right? It's just to building a more inclusive and accepting space, and a shared space. So yeah, I always when I get involved in things and want to do things, it's always sort of to prove to others what can be done.
You're telling the story about look at what we've done. And that story ignites imagination in others to hopefully do the same thing. I love that.
And I find it's, we all have to start where we start, right? We all have our spaces that we know and things we're passionate about, but that doesn't mean we're not passionate about other things. It's just really hard to find the energy each day and even find the confidence to speak about other things and say all of these matter and all of these connect. And what I hear, like, I'm just meeting you folks for the first time. Aside from Jody, I've met her before, and my St. Paul's cohort, but to be able to say these things all matter to all of us and we make them bigger together. I think that says something in our culture and in our community that other people would love to tap into, but they don't know how, because what else allows that? So I think that the magic of that, we're better together, but we're more than the sum of our parts in a meaningful way, I think is valuable.
Yes.
I agree. I think that this partnership is a great opportunity for different groups to learn through other people's experiences and their perspectives and gain that connection that has been discussed so far, and to create that inclusive and safe space that encourages different groups to come together. I think there's a lot of potential with this kind of a partnership.
That's great. Well, there's something with your mic, and I'm not sure what it is. It hums when you put it. I don't know. It doesn't when you start talking, it just does eventually when you continue. Don't allow that to have you stop talking. We will put up with the hum.
Sorry about that. If it helps, I can also put it in the chat if the hum is distracting.
Thank you. Anyone else? How is our impact multiplied?
So this is a very practical one, but there are 3 regions in this part of Ontario, church regions, that work together, and they pool all their finances together, and they're able to afford more. So it's we're very lucky to have that in this part of Ontario because there's so many people. But I also think that sharing resources in that way will make the dollar go further than it could.
Yeah, I'll share one thing around that is I talked to we've a person on staff with us who all they do is grant writing. That's their specialty. And they pretty much know everyone out there. And they said I asked, are there any dollars in the creation of this? And they're like, there are very, very few opportunities unless you're really clear on here are the people in the partnership and this is what we want to achieve. So when you have that shared dream, there are dollars available that would not be available to you individually. They're collective. And people want to see that. So there are different granting bodies that do want to see that, whether it's arts groups, justice, healing. So I think there is financial opportunity in terms of grants and other dollars available as you partner together.
Well, I think you just said the word that I think everybody, like everyone's into right now, which is healing. And then it's funny that you came on here, Deborah, with retreat, because I've been thinking like, I have this book. I don't know if any of you ever know this book. Do you know this book at all?
Oh, no.
Many Voices, One Song, Shared Power with Socio. Yeah, I think it's what we're talking about. But if we really, from what I know in the realm and the work that I do, I mean, everything that we do when we're sharing stories, when we're sharing knowledge, it's about healing. So if we're not really clear about what we want to do as a collective, and so what is the place? Is it is it a cultural center? Is it a, healing center? Is it a retreat? Is it a, I think that's the one thing that, we'll obviously have to come to. Because we want people to come from everywhere to be a part of what we have, because there's nothing like that near here, right? And maybe I haven't done my research, but I know what the elders wanted, what their visions are, and it just so happens that it's possible to be doing this right here, right now.
Yeah, beautiful. Anyone else before we move on? And just so you know, my goal is for us to be done by 8. I know we are all busy and got things to do, so I don't want to drag on. So I'm going to ask just questions around where we're at, and then get into some next steps. So in terms of creating this hub around partnership, this ecosystem together, where you're bringing who you are into a shared arrangement, it doesn't mean, but you get to create what that looks like. It doesn't mean others can't rent the space, but your partners, which have that shared ownership together within the space itself, is that something that you want? Are you a yes, we're in? Or are there clarifying questions that you need to ask around what does in mean?
I will say I'm not fully there yet, because I'm really tired. I'm really tired of just being busy all the time. So I think I need more clarification around how much of me is this going to take? Just because that's where I am right now. I desperately need volunteers to continue doing what I have to do for my current commitments. So it sounds like an amazing idea, and I want to be involved, but I don't want to sign up for something and commit to something that I really don't have the time for.
So it's about
I need to know.
It's about capacity and bandwidth.
Yeah.
Your personal capacity.
100%. Yeah.
I'm in it. I love it. Love the idea. I don't have the personal capacity to be in a bunch more meetings, create a bunch more stuff. If you say create it, I'm in, but I'm just going to show up when I want to.
Yeah, then I'm in.
Right. And I hear that.
Yeah.
The others, is it a yes or a yes and? Or a yes or?
I can make it work.
Yep.
Like, I think it's just, do you start it tomorrow? Do we start inviting people in? Do we, what do we do? How does it work? Right. Because we can create events on the land. I don't know. Are we looking to create revenue for the existing building? We sit down and make a nonprofit together. I'm down. Let's do it.
Yep.
what do we got to lose? And then we just start building calendars and events, and
That's it.
I don't know, because we still do our work. And knowing that, you know, nothing gets done without, you know, everyone's eyes on it. But if there's one person doing the work, you know, if we have to find somebody to do the, you know, build it, like who's going to do that work? Because I know, like, I'm not going to incorporate it. We need to find people to organize. I just did this. I just went through all of this.
So we'll
right?
get into next steps. We're on that. I got that.
I think that's the understanding. That's the understanding is
Yeah.
who's doing the footwork. And if we just need to show up at the table and go, okay, I'll be on the board, or somebody from my community be on the board.
Yep.
Right. Let's build it. And this is going to be, you know,
Yep.
obviously what's to come, but we're all partners in it.
That's right.
And we started, and I don't know. I
Nope.
see it though. You know, I can see the vision, and only be probably because of, I don't know, where I've gone, where I am today from what I've built so far. And I could see it, but I see it much bigger. So I just feel like it's going to grow quick. Something's going to happen. It's just going to be like, boom.
It's great. I love it. Jody's a yes. Crystal or Janelle, what are you thinking?
Well, for me, it's a yes, but it's something as well that we need to know what will be demanded from us so we can also get organized and
Yes.
see what we can do, you know, like until can we fully be there, or is just something that we really wanted, but we don't have the possibility to. So we need to know exactly what we will have to do to
Yep.
be 100% yes. But ideally, like, yeah, we are in.
Awesome.
It's a yes for me as well. You know, I can relate to what Jody's saying. So, you know, I'm all in. I would like to start seeing where the space is going to be and what it's going to take for us to make it happen. But I'm a big dreamer, so I'm actually here
Come on.
for it. I'm looking for it.
I love it. I love it. So in terms of, that's encouraging. And I think what, you know, we've needed is this, here's what it is we're signing up for. Are we a yes in terms of this partnership? And just to be full disclosure, just to keep the lights on and the building kind of functioning, is $50,000 a year. So spaces aren't free. So there is a reality around, you know, someone's paying for that. I think there is huge opportunity with how you're coming together to find those dollars. And it may not be, and this is where I think creativity and imagination comes. You may look as an organization and go, we don't have that internally, but there are ways in which I think we can access that. So as I think about next steps, I do think about what does governance look like? And that isn't a really sexy conversation, but who is on that board? How is it managed? And what does that look like? A next step is around name, marketing, and website. So what do you want to call this? And getting a website up with each of your names and organizations listed on it. You now have more profile because you've got a central place that people can come to. Third is events. I think then once you have your governance and identity in place, now you start doing stuff and hosting stuff. And my goal would be to see by the fall that you could host a community event that actually announces the partnership. We're here. And that's the goal I think that we're building towards. And there are steps that St. Paul's can take. There are steps that Trinity Centers can take as kind of the consultants. And there are parts where we're going to have to come together to add our input and to brainstorm together. Any questions on that? Deborah, is there anything more that you need to ask, or anything more anything clarifying?
Nothing coming to my head right now except I heard you say next steps around name, marketing, and website. And I'm assuming hopefully once we have those kinds of things, grants would follow soon after.
100%. As soon as we start the non-for-profit status, as soon as that process is started, we can start applying for grants. It's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say next steps, is that also something that you kind of help us walk through then with the name and the marketing and?
Yeah, so next steps for us is and what I think we need to do is, what I'll do with my colleague Kendra is kind of create a list of here's what it looks like to establish a community hub. Here are kind of all the steps required. Not all of you need to be involved in all the steps. And that's where, I think it's important for, those of you that are feeling tired and going, oh gosh, I cannot do one more meeting, to go, we still want you a part of this. So you can come in as you want, but you don't have to be at every one. So here's the step that I really care about. I care about what this is called. Like, I really care about that. I don't want to be involved in that. Or I care about whatever. So you can give input at different levels. But St. Paul's is driving this forward, including you in that as you can. And then there are certain things where everyone is going to have to be involved. So I think we'll just create a list and go, here's all the activities that need to happen. And here's what moving forward looks like. And here are the conversation pieces that we need to have together. And then you begin to say, you know what, I can't do all of these, but here are the 3 that I really want to be at. Because I think that will help as well with not having to feel burdened by the creating of it. Yes, Janelle.
Oh, sorry, I just have to step out. Sorry, Janelle. I have to leave the meeting. I'm
Thank
really
you so much,
sorry.
Jody, for coming.
But I just to let you know that to move forward, in bringing in the elders, because I really think that that's a really important part for the work that we do. And I definitely think that we'd have to do, I would require to do ceremony with everyone. And so I would definitely ask that to be guided by the elders, and if everybody's okay with that, because that's how I think the name will come. I think if we're going to really do this in a good way, that's what we have to do to come together, do ceremony, and spend time on the land with each other. And so I know that Deborah and I spoke about, because we were already talking about doing a full moon ceremony in June. Was it June?
June
right?
3rd.
June 3rd. And so I still have to confirm those dates with the elders, but even if they don't come, and if everybody's okay with it, that might be a good time for us to do ceremony. And I'm really sorry that I have to jump off with that conversation, leaving it there, but
Oh, it's perfect. Thank you for adding that. Really good. Thank you, Jody, for attending. Appreciate it. Janelle, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I was wanted some clarification. So we would be considered essentially all co-founders of this new not-for-profit.
Yeah, I need to work that through with Kendra. That is not my expertise. So this, whatever the entity, whatever you call it, let's say it's called the center, it could establish its own non-for-profit. that has as its board representatives from all the partners.
Okay, I got it.
So in Minneapolis, they have one called the Center for Belonging. There's just you can call it whatever, but so a unique, and this is an option as well. If you didn't want to go that route, and I'm pretty sure that St. Paul's on Bloor Street, which is a massive arts hub, and it's a very successful arts hub. It generates upwards of $500,000 a year. I think they just have a separate part of the church, so they just break it off. So the hub goes through the church's not-for-profit status, and I'm pretty sure that's how it's done. The challenge with that is you have to really show that it's separate to get a lot of the grant funding dollars. So grants and community organizations don't love giving to faith organizations or churches. So there is a challenge with that. So you do have to show that it's separate, but it is an option.
And okay, so my second question or third question is, are we staying at the current location, or is the plan to move? So I know that's something we were trying to figure out at the last meeting.
Yep.
And it sounded like we were going to move. So is that still the case?
So yes, great question. So the current plan is to stay with a reimagined space. So that's the current plan until the market says that we can't do that. So we're going forward with that plan until we get a nope, it's not going to work. So plan A is to stay with the newly reimagined space, which means that you can start meeting there now within the existing space. So it would just need reconfigured and set up differently to make it work.
Can you
So
mention,
when it comes, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, can you mention those grants, Dave, that for the,
Yes. So one of the ways that St. Paul's does a lot of their space upgrades is every active partner can apply for space upgrade grants that are upwards up to $150,000. So you can apply for a space upgrade grant as a not-for-profit within an existing space that can allow you to do some really creative stuff within the space itself.
And so are those grants currently live? Sorry, I might have missed that part. Are they open now?
So I think they're open. Again, I'm not the grant specialist. I'm not sure
Okay.
when they would open. I believe they open a couple times a year.
So has anyone previously been successful for this sort of grant to start renovations, or we have to actually find those grants, apply for them, see if we are successful before we can break any ground or do any renovations at the current location?
Yeah, so the plan is to secure a development partner who is going to do a mixed use housing on part of the land that will generate some income to be able to do a mixed use community space. So the new space will not require the space upgrade grants. It's the current existing space to get it usable until that happens, because development is about a 2 to 3 year process.
Okay, so do we have say on who that consultant or developer is going to be? Or do you guys already have one in mind?
We are in the process of sending out an expression of interest to what we call developers with a conscience who care about the community. So if you have a list or know of developers, we would love to send that to them.
Do you know any developers that are like Black owned or Indigenous owned?
Sorry, I missed that.
Sorry, do you
developers
know
that are
any?
Black-owned?
Black owned.
Yeah, Black owned or Indigenous owned?
we do ask that question, and I believe there are some in Toronto, but I don't know any in the Hamilton and Mississauga area.
Okay, so I would just want to be mindful of like when we're creating the space,
No,
like
I
who
100%.
is involved.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I did reach
So-
out to Harrison, Janelle, but I never heard back from him.
Okay, I'll connect with him after this meeting and see what's going on. He does work, he's a city planner, so he works for the city of Toronto. So I'm sure he knows some developers or architects
Yep.
along the way. So I'll follow up with him. But if we can
Yeah.
also work on a list of targeting those diverse developers, I think that would
If you
be.
know of any, please let us know.
Yeah, I don't know any off the top of my hand because it's not really my sort of
Yeah,
sector.
no, I know.
If I do come across, for sure.
And we are always asking about that. And that is one area that tends to not be very diverse, which is quite sad.
I know off the top of my head, like the NIA Center, it's this new center that's being developed in Toronto. I'm sure they might have Black-led or Indigenous-led developers or folks involved. So I'm at work, so I would like put it in the chat. But if you can do quick Google search, it's NIA NIA Center, and then maybe we can kind of ask them if they know any folks. I'm sure they've kind of come up with some people.
Right. Yeah, we'll definitely do some research on that as well. I have asked a really great development partner here in Ottawa if he knew of any, and he sent a list of 4 developers that he would say are just like really community focused, not predatory in any way, and really so we are creating that list. But yeah, any more that you would know of, please pass those along. Go, Kevin.
I was thinking of what Taylor said a few minutes ago about being wiped, and what I've always found in building collaborations is to kind of help each other along the way, because the sum is greater than the parts, right? And it came to my mind when Jody was mentioning about an event at the beginning of June around the full moon. Yep. You're running a Pride Festival in Milton, am I right? Is that you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Yes.
And I'm just
yeah.
thinking,
So
like,
2 people are trying to throw this thing, and I've got
wild.
Janelle and Jody.
You don't have to do that anymore.
We gotta get you help.
And so that's my idea, is sometimes these things where we can piggyback off of energy that we're already doing and ideas we already have. It's a way to get to know each other. It's a way, like what Jeff said earlier about St. Paul's looking for ways to be tangible and real with the real things they care about. But when we don't have connections, it's hard, right? And so I know, Deborah, you're on sabbatical then, which I 100% support because I just came back. But that means that maybe that's a way, if you've got that event and Janelle and Crystal and everybody, like if we have things that we're dreaming about already and or working on already to share with the group one way or the other, whether it's a Facebook group or a Slack community or something, maybe we can start to get to know each other and pitch in that way.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
I see you put it in the chat, Taylor, so that's good. I'll reach out. We'll see what we can do.
And Laura, thank you for that.
Yeah.
As well. NLA Center. So I'm going to wrap up. We're at time. I will commit to working with Kendra and creating a workflow in terms of what needs to happen for you to move from right now to a fully existing community hub. And then we can work through what that looks like in terms of scheduling meetings and such to move that forward. It is encouraging to have you each on the call, excited for what possibility is, and can't wait to start dreaming with each of you. Anyone else have anything before we sign off?
How do we follow up next?
We will follow up next.
Okay.
I will send an email with a link to this recorded meeting so that you can share with others if you want, and I'll send some notes that I took tonight. And then I guess we wait to hear, well, we'll wait to
I
hear
will-
from Jody to see if the full moon ceremony can happen on June 3rd, and see if there is anything else we want to do, like maybe have a potluck or something together, but a way for us to get to know each other. And we'll wait for Dave and Kendra to get back to us with this workflow and what comes next.
Yeah,
That's my understanding.
Yep, and we'll get on that right away, so that we can begin to start with that. I'm just excited that we're saying yes.
Yeah.
And I will have, within that workflow, I do want you to have a conversation with Chris, who is our grant specialist, and just to see what's possible and start, as soon as we start this process, to begin thinking about what grants could be available, because I think that could really help launch this forward.
Mhm.
Good.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, thank you everyone for
Thank
being here.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Nice to meet you.